Dallas on a sweep. Brings it up.
All right, hey guys, it's Coach Jeff from Youth Football Online. I'm co-founder. I'm here with Coach Nate Albaugh. We're here to talk about the 3-5 defense and how we stop the run. So, Coach Nate, tell us a little bit about what you got going on, and we'll get into our discussion.
Well, I'm just a longtime football coach now, and coming off an 11-year stint as a head football coach, and now a current assistant at a school that was pretty nearby where I was the head coach as my kids go through school there. So it's just been a long adventure of football and studying football, and started traveling a few years ago for ChiefPiskin.com, and been all over the nation now interviewing top-notch coaches. So there's no doubt that I lived this. And I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten more perspective that it really is just the game. And I have many other things in my life that are very important. But, the football is my hobby, I guess. I mean, beyond hobby, right? It's like that thing that I pour myself into, and hopefully just trying. I feel like I'm on this road to be as good as I could possibly be, however that may be by the time I give it up. Hopefully I'll be 70 years old before that happens, though.
Definitely. All right, cool. Football is definitely my hobby too. It's, I go to work and I coach football. That's what I do. So let's get into it. This is a topic I've wanted to discuss with people for a while. And I will say, what you've been doing with your ChiefPiskin and your YouTube channel, you are my go-to resource for the 3-5 defense and pretty much anything wing T. So I'm excited to have you on, and I thank you for coming on. Helping us football coaches out. But, there's a big misconception, at least in my opinion, I think it's a misconception. I'm sure you'll agree that you really can't stop the run at a 3-5. We have been stopping the run for the most part at 3-5. But, I think that's what I just really want to focus on. And I'll let you start off, I'll let you guide the conversation here.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's no doubt that people have their doubts, right? They may say, you can't stop off tackle. I mean, that's really what we hear. You can't stop off tackle. When we see stack, we kill it with fill in the blank, right? So there's no doubt that people say that. But the reality is that people say that about every defense. Well, if you run 5-3, we kill you in the flats. If you run the 4-front, they kill you with midline and trap. So the reality is that the 3-5, like every other defense, has holes. You only get 11 players, right? So no matter how you decide to line them up, there is a place of weakness. And the 3-5 has its places of weakness. And reality is that it has two places of weakness. It is weaker off tackle, and it is weaker along the seams when people want to run 4 verticals on you. So as a coach, and you have to do this, whether you're a 3-5 guy or whatever you decide to run, you have to know what are the places where my defense is weaker or not as strong. And then I need to practice those a lot, right? And so I say that, practicing a lot is not like a one-time a week thing. That's an everyday thing. So we want to be intentional about making sure that we're practicing our defense's weaknesses daily. Daily, we're going to practice weaknesses. We know what they are. You know what they are. We know you know what they are. So we have to practice these daily. So we're practicing defending off tackle daily, and we're practicing defending the seams daily. So no doubt about it, defending the off tackle, or it might get a reputation for being weaker against off tackle run. Maybe it is. I'm not sure that it is. I think a lot of things are misconception, and I think we get the misconceptions off a variety of resources, a lot of it being like ESPN, that we just know what we hear. But when you think about it logically, there's no reason why a 3-5 would be weaker against the run. I prefer the 3-5 for one main reason. I love this. I love being balanced in my defense and being able to be balanced in my defense. I also love how simple we can run it. When we can run as simple as we need to. We can get more complex if we need to, depending on the age or the quality of athlete that we're coaching. But it just keeps things simple, and we can play really, really hard. We can when that ball snapped, we can read, react, and go. And so a lot of people were 3-5 guys, or at least when the 3-5 really started coming to be in vogue, it started off as really blitz happy defense. I mean, really blitz happy. And now, and just based on my own travels and finding great coaches, now the some of the top three front guys, the top stat guys in my state, in Wisconsin, the states near me, are blitzing very little to none. So in my area, and football can be very regional, but in my region, the blitzing amount for the three front guys is extremely low. It's just a very good read and react. Let's play fast type of defense. So that's kind of where we've landed. So that kind of gives the overview of defending the run. I of course I'm ready to go with my pen. I could take pen to paper and show you some whiteboard stuff that are kind of some of the troubleshooting areas, what we like to do, how we practice it, how we defend power, ISO, of how we feel like we defend it well. So I can hit that at any time, but I figure just start with that little quick overview.
Sounds good. And when I first started running the 3-5, we blitzed a lot, and it hurt us more than it helped. And I scout every team too. As I ran this more, I realized there was more times I was blitzing these kids out of the play, or they would blitz and penetrate too far up the field and leave a cutback lane. So, I agree with you. Like we blitz, we call it blitzing strategically. Like when we know youth football, I think there's a lot more tells than there are on high school level.
Sure.
So it's kind of, a lot of times coaches in youth football, they'll switch linemen to the side they're running. They'll go unbalanced. It's really not that hard to, I'm pretty good at recognizing and guessing where they're going. So that helps me with my blitzing. But as far as blitzing, just for the sake of blitzing, it's burnt me more than it's helped. So I agree. I've really took a step back from blitzing and just making sure, alignment's good and other things like that. So yeah, I've gotten a little bit away from blitzing because it hurt me a lot more than it has helped, to be honest with you. And maybe it's something I'm doing but I just don't like blitzing, my players out of the play and losing pursuit, Blitz right, they run left. Now that backside is no help.
Wasted guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was a lesson I learned real quick the first 2 years. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Now we have our situations where we will go and we like to blitz at tight ends. But outside of blitzing at tight ends, there's very little to us. We do have one or two pass blitzes that we like in certain situations, but we're a very, very low blitz team. But we will blitz at that tight end and I can show that and draw that up. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. So do you want me to just dive into some drawing some things up, defending power, ISO?
Absolutely. Definitely.
And what set do you want to look like? What offense do you want to defend?
It's a lot of 22 personnel. Basically, it'll come out with two tight ends, fullback, tailback, maybe a receiver, or even have a wing come in and be like a tight end, wing back flank. They'll run it at that as well. A lot of double tight end stuff.
Okay, so let's start with one tight end just for conversation purposes. Now, would you see any I formation or like
a lot of I? A lot of I. Yeah, a lot of I formation.
All right, so let's start here. So noses and ends, and our ends, we line up head up. Now, would you like me to talk about the 3-5 defending in general or how I specifically do it?
I think how you do it, definitely.
Okay. Well, so these are our monsters. These are outside linebackers. And these are our dogs here. And those are stack backers. And this is my Mike. And this is my hound right here. Okay. Now, the other thing that I might go back and forth between is how I may potentially run this defense if I was coaching youth football at a younger group, maybe 10 and under, and how I would coach it if I do believe that if I got into the 8th graders, I think I would likely coach it, depending on how many coaches I had, the way that I run it currently. But I could possibly hold off running it the way I currently do until the kids got to high school. But let's just take this to start off. They've got a tight end to the left here, and most 3-5 teams are going to run when they have this outside linebacker. In fact, not just 3-5, a lot of 4-4 teams as well. They want to take this outside linebacker and put him like right on the outside shoulder of this guy. Okay, I haven't liked doing that. I'm not saying it's wrong. There's good football teams that do it. I don't like doing that. I'm not in a huge hurry to force that ball. If I put him on the line right now, he has a tendency to run upfield and be easier to kick. I don't actually want him. A basic rule of thumb for us is that we never want our monster closer to that edge than the nearest kick out threat, right? Because that's when there's no way a kick out guy should be able to get there faster than you can. You should be able to be as far away from that point as the kick out threat. So in this case, the nearest kick out threat is probably guard, right? We could be at least as far away as the guard. We like to allow him to be a little bit further away, and I'll tell you why in a second. And I think you can get away with him being even further away if you do what we're about to do. So what we like to do is we talk all the time about what formation increases the likelihood of. And so those are the conversations with our kids. So when we talk defending with our kids, we talk about a couple things. What you won't hear us talk about are power, ISO, counter. We won't sweep, right? We won't use like what the play is. We won't talk about that. We talk about zone 1 and zone 2. Okay? Zone 1 is any inside run in between the tackles. Okay? Zone 2 is any outside run outside the tackles. So each of your keys should tell you, is this a zone 1 play to the left or is this a zone 2 play to the left? Because the reality is we can't I don't think we can play as fast if we tell you to identify which play this is. We just want you to identify in which direction is your key telling you to go and at what angle, right? At what leverage should you be pursuing? Because reality is, if they ran power to the left or a lead play without that guy kicking or counter to the left, should it really matter which play it is? The reality is, it doesn't matter. The ball's going here. We need you there, right? And so that's why we just talked zone 1, zone 2. What'd you see? Zone 1, zone 2. Hey, coach, I saw zone 1 to the left. Okay. Did you fit it? Right? So the first thing we're going to do is that's one thing we talk about all the time with especially our interior guys. Zone 1, zone 2. The second thing is by formation, what's this likelihood of run pass doing? Okay, so let's just put a little scale here. Here's my run pass scale. This is my run pass-o-meter. And on this run pass-o-meter, let's say most youth football teams are going to start off right here. Most high school football teams start off right here. They're always more likely to run than pass unless you're truly playing an air raid team. Okay, so it starts off right here. The presence of a tight end, and of course you're going to do your own game planning and running numbers on who you're playing, you're scouting. But even in general football, the presence of a tight end, just having a tight end, pushes the likelihood of run up. The presence of a fullback pushes the likelihood of run up. The presence of both, oh my goodness, that likelihood of run just went way up, right? And so now not only is there a scale of likelihood of run to pass, but there's also a scale of likelihood of left to right. The presence of a tight end on the left just pushed likelihood of run to the left way up, right? Listen, if you run with a tight end, if a team runs with a tight end, they want to run at the tight end. That's the purpose of tight ends. The purpose of tight ends is to have a receiver eligible that has given you an extra blocker. And so people run to tight ends. If you run with a tight end, you usually run power, counter backside, ISO maybe either side, but that power is that bread and butter play, right? So the odds of running to tight end just went way up. So knowing all of this, knowing the likelihood of what everything did, when we get a fullback and a tight end, when we get the presence of both, we are automatically blitzing right here, okay? Now for us, we make a pinch or a loop call. A lot of 3-5 teams are going to just play in these fives, and this guy's just going to read and react from here. But I'll tell you why we went to the pinch loop. So we're going to make our pinch or loop call. So let's say it's a pinch. So this guy is stepping inward and he's penetrating vertically. Stepping inward and penetrating vertically. And the dog is going to do opposite of that, right? So he needs to go outward. Now, when there's a presence of a tight end and a fullback, the dog is going. He's going. And his job is to go directly at the tight end. And he's going directly at the tight end because that tight end, 9 out of 10 plays, maybe more, has been assigned to down block him. I mean, you name the play, he's down blocking you. Okay. So we go right at him. We want a huge collision, and then we want you to go vertical. And if that requires you to spin off and go vertical, we'll spin off and go vertical. Okay. So this is how we run it. So I guess to make it the conversation more concise, I'll only talk about how we run it. But I just do want people to know that we have had years where we ran it where we were truly reading it. We weren't blitzing there. We've had years where our DNs were not penetrating. But what we landed on in the last 5 years has been we penetrate there, okay? When a team penetrates on you, now we play what we call stupid football with these 4 players, okay? Now, technically, these dogs, they kind of go back and forth between stupid football and good football because the dogs do read if there's not a tight end near them. They will read and react. But if that tight end is there, they're truly allowed to play stupid football. Your job is literally to play vertically. And the reality is when you have D linemen that are penetrating on you, it can be tough to deal with. It does cause problems when you want to run the ball because it's hard to hold down blocks for a good amount of time. Yeah. But the problem is if you blitz a lot, the D linemen are coming a lot, eventually they'll get you because they'll trap you. They'll trap you eventually, whether it's a true trap or a power, they'll kick you up. They will get you, right? But you will cause some plays of loss when you're playing vertically. So what we want to do is we want to say, listen, most teams that are running the ball want to run right here. This is the most popular place to run in football. Let me get a good color here. This right here is the most popular place to run in football, right here, these off tackles. That's where people want to run. It's the best place to run the football. It's a great place to run the football. So when people want to run there, then that's where we want to, as we just say, we just want to raise hell. We're trying to raise hell right where we know you want to run. And then everybody else, this man, keeping in mind these are 3 of our best defenders. I mean, my very best 2 defenders are right here and here, Mike and Hal. They are not playing stupid football. They are read and react. Now, for us, we want to read guards. We are guard readers. We work on those, on my Mike and Hound being guard readers. I mean, daily, absolutely daily. We work on being guard readers. We try to get very good at it. But if you're not a guard reader, then they think your Mike wants to be a fullback reader, okay? But we're guard readers. So now we're going to create hell here and here where we know you want to run, and then we will scrape and play downhill with our Mike, and our Hound always comes straight downhill, and he'll play inside to out once he knows where the ball's going, okay? So that as a default is kind of showing you what we want to do. We want to raise hell at a tight end and play vertically because it does a couple things. It also allows us to back our monster off. Here's why. When you play in this, I'm going to draw this up down here. Here's a tight end. Let's say you're an even front. When these people are going to run power right here, maybe they're going to double team and they're going to drive, right? This alley gets created right here. Okay, so now here comes the fullback to kick out outside of it. That alley is right here, and I'll even do that in yellow. That alley is right here. Okay? But when we take our dog and we raise hell, even if we don't win this battle, Coach, even if we don't win this battle, which, listen, we're not Superman. We don't always win the battle. When we win the battle, that lane for where this is gets created more like here, which if you draw a line from that halfback, that's like way out here. And even if we don't win the battle, at the very least, this lane has been kicked out a little bit further. I can see I got to delete something here real quick. So do you have editing power, Coach?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Do you have editing power?
In regards to video editing?
To cutting this out.
Yeah,
okay, because
absolutely.
I am going to have to delete something real quick to make my drawing possible right now. Let's see if that worked. All right, so what we've really done is widened our, we've widened this lane for where you can run, okay? And so you figure we've probably widened the lane at least a yard, so now we can back off our monster a yard, okay? So all of that kind of shows you, in fact, I'll just put that one off and create a new layer. That gives you the kind of a base overview of how we are defending this. So the reason we are able to defend off tackle and be difficult to run against, I want to also preface with this. If your kids aren't very good at football, if you're not very good at football, the kids, you might have a couple weenies and they're slow, and there is no such thing as a magic defense. Like
No, I
there is
agree.
nothing you can run that's going to make you good at football if your kids aren't good at football, right? So I have in no way, shape, or form. Listen, you can get shredded in the 3-5, just like you can get shredded in the 4 or the 5 or whatever you decide to run. 3-4, you can get shredded. If your kids aren't very good, you're not going to be very good. Okay. When you want to try to stop the bleeding as much as you can, try to keep the scores close because you're not very good. You know when you're good, once you've been coaching a few years, you can tell when, ooh, we got some dudes this year, or man, we're really thin. We're trying to keep the boat afloat. So So there's nothing magic about this. So we are being difficult to run against here because we're playing stupid football here. Now, the reason we get away with it is because we're not playing stupid football here. If you want to trap us, which we know you want to do, number one, we have a nose guard who his job is to not choose a side. Technically, our nose is a 2-gap player. But I always tell people that a 2-gap player is really a 0-gap player. People go, I could never coach a 2-gap player. And I think we look at it wrong. I think we're like, listen, you're responsible for both A-gaps. My reality is I'm telling the kid, you're not responsible for either A-gap. Your whole job is to not choose an A-gap. So I think a 2-gap defender technically is not a 2-gap defender. He's a no-gap defender. Yeah. And that's how we coach our nose. He is a no-gap defender. Your job, dude, is to not choose a gap. If you choose a gap, you get in trouble, right? Or you get chewed out or maybe replace you, right?
I'm going to touch on that real quick, not to interrupt you, but that's a problem I've been having. I'm saying our nose, we 2-gap to A. That's how we coach it. He's responsible for both A-gaps. And this is our best defensive lineman. Like you say, we build out from the inside out. Our nose, our Mike, we don't call it a hound, we just call it safety, but those are our 3 best kids. But a lot of times, we have our nose, we call it anchoring, have both A-gaps, but a lot of times he'll guess or he'll pick one. He'll think the back may go this way, but he commits too early. So that was a big problem on interior runs for me the last couple of years. So, I like how you said you have no gap. So, yeah, I like that a lot because I'm telling them you have both A-gaps. And I was literally talking to my coaches the other day. I'm like, I'm watching film. My guy just goes in any gap he wants or he guesses. He'll anchor and try to hold both A-gaps, but he'll guess eventually. So that was a big problem I was having for the last 2 or 3 years.
I think it is really important, and you're right. That's what's natural and I want to say, and I've really tried hard to fix my language. I try as much as I can to stop saying it's hard for kids, because reality is it's hard for people. It's hard for people to resist picking. When you tell a kid, so this is when we're talking technical football, we say it's a 2-gap player. Our kids only know this. They only know that, right? Because if I tell a kid, you're responsible for both A's, he feels like he's supposed to make a play in the A, right? When I tell him your whole job is to not go in an A, then now the second he chooses one, he knows he's wrong. He knows he's wrong, right? Listen, we make mistakes too, right? I mean, I'm still coaching my kid nonstop to not pick one. But I do feel like that language has helped. And I also think it's been important as I explain it to other coaches, because that thought of a 2-gap nose, they go immediately, high school coaches all over the place are like, we don't have a 2-gap kid. And my contention is, I think you do. Because you need a no-gap kid. Now, he will make plays. He will absolutely make plays. But we try to teach this nose that you are a left and right player, right? Our dogs and ends play this way. Our nose Mike's hounds play this, right? They play this way. Now, technically, these guys are this way, and this guy is this way before he goes, right? So that's where they play, right? But only these guys play this way, okay? I created a huge mess there now, so I'll start again with my layers. But so what we're trying to do now is, if you're going to play a tight end here, we will try to get away. This guy's not an automatic blitz guy. He's reading backs, right? So if this is a pinch call and these 2 are going in, then these 2 are reading far back, as we say it. So the far back is the I back. If the I back steps this way, well, first of all, you're blitzing. You don't care. But if the I back steps away from you, play away, backside it. Play to you, this is your fit. Right? So now we do have a guy. This is what I love about the 3 front. This little thing, which is coached like crazy, right? That's no small thing to say backside A. It's not like we just say it and the kids do it. That's not the case, right? We say it, we rep it, we teach it, we film it, we review it. This takes us a month to get decent at. Play away, backside A. But now I got a backside A run through. And if this guy was a forefront, if this was a forefront and he was an end up here, play away, you're not getting him in the backside A, right? He's stuck back here. That's one of the benefits of a 3-5 is it takes coaching, of course, right? You can be bad at it. But if you work on it, you can begin to get more players to the ball. So this would be play away, backside A. Okay. These guys are reading guards for us. So let's say you ran power. The second my mic sees one guard go behind the play, this is zone 1 left. He is A to B to C fit, A to B to C. Okay. And my hound is downhill and inside out. So technically the hound's always behind them. Okay. Now that's how we defend in general, but let's go to, like you said, double tight. So double tight for us. And we had to defend a double tight wing T team, one of the best in the state, for 5 years. And boy, are they difficult to defend. But it forced us to have an answer. So we came up with our answer for double tight. And what we began to do was begin repping double tight in the summertime. Okay, we had to rep double tight in the summer because if we waited until week of, it was too late. Like I'm a big proponent, you can't get good at something in a week, right? So you have to look at your schedule. I really believe you have to look at your schedule beforehand, before the season, and go, these are the things we believe we'll see, or these are the things we need to rep because these are the things we could see in the year. And we have to have hit these before, right? We want to make sure that at least once a week, we didn't play this wing T team until week 7 every year. But we needed to make sure that we were touching this at least one time a week. First of all, in summer, one time a week we need to touch this, right? We didn't call it, for the team that ran against us was Notre Dame. Like we didn't say, hey, wing T prep or Notre Dame prep. But for us, this was double tight. This was what we called our hammer look. We ended up landing on that word hammer for us. We're going to rep hammer. Hammer was 2 tight ends. How are we going to defend this? Okay, so any questions before I dive into how we defend 2 tight ends?
No, so far so good.
Okay, so for us, 2 tight ends meant a couple things. Number one, you remember we talked about that scale of likelihood of run? Well, you just play with 2 tight ends. So if you think 1 tight end ups the likelihood of run, 2 tight ends, right? That's like double likelihood. You know, you're talking about any team that runs double tight ends, they're going to run the ball, close to 90% of the time. You're looking at a team that's very likely to throw the ball less than 10 times in a game. I mean, that's just what it is. So likelihood of run just came way up. Well, the problem with 2 tight ends is, remember that left to right scale I talked to you about? That kind of goes out the window. They're just as likely to run left or right, a 2 tight end team. Now, sometimes you will get a tight end wing, and with this tight end wing together, we'll notice, they are more likely left. So you could game plan that. But for the most part, as a default, we want to be prepared to defend both sides equally because you're running with a tight end to both sides. Okay? So for us, we're going to make sure that we are, as we said, raising hell off tackle, and we're going to do on both sides, coach. Now, I had a coach ask me once, he's like, well, okay, so this D-end pinches and goes vertical. But if this guard pulls this way, he knows he can start peeling that way and getting flat. And my answer to that is this. Yeah, you are correct, but I'll never tell my kid that. Okay? I'll never now. I used to. But what happened was I told the kid, I need you to play vertically as hard as you can. However, now the second you say those 2 words in any combination, he can no longer play as hard as he can. You know what I mean? Like you cannot floor it in the car when you don't know where the stop sign is, right? You can't floor it. If there's the possibility of a stop sign, you can't floor it, right? That's why we drive at about 30. Slow enough, we could stop if we need to because a kid could jump out. Okay, so if I truly want this kid to play as vertical as he can, as hard as he can, which makes him the hardest possible to block, then I truly have to take the reins off of him, and that's what we try to do, right? Everything's in theory. I get fired up when I talk about this, but I don't want anybody to think that I know I'm right. I don't know that I'm right. This is all theory, but I think that when you do step on the field to coach, you have to coach as if you absolutely know, right? The kids have to see a guy who knows absolutely, is very confident in this. So we're taking the reins off of them, and I'm not going to even talk to my DN about it. Is get vertical and then chase the guy with the ball. That's literally how we coach at the high school level. We had 1,200 kids in our school. We're at a pretty big high school in Illinois. We had a good amount of success. We played pretty good football, but for those kids, that's as far as it went. Get vertical as hard as you can. Chase the guy with the ball. And so that's it. And I feel like, in my opinion, when we took the reins off of him, he was free to be vertical harder, which makes him harder to block. We're trying to really wreak havoc right here.
Yeah,
So
makes sense.
So both of these guys, if this was a loop call and my DN was going out, then he is going to go out at the tight end. He's literally going right at the tight end because we know that tight end's job is to down block you. Now, for us, we're an 80-20 team. 80% pinch, 20% loop. Now, we don't track it in the game or anything, but what we've noticed is pinch is what we call our fastball. That's our fastball. We want to throw our fastball the most, what we're best at, pinch. But we must run loop sometimes so that they can't bank on pinch coming, right? And that's what makes it difficult to block for these guys. So we're coming vertical. Now, we're going to take these monsters. We call this our lion technique. And our monsters are playing 5 yards off the ball, just outside shade of the last man on line of scrimmage. They are even in a straight line with our mic. And our corners are right directly over the top. We treat tight end wing as one man. So our corner lines up directly over him. That's one vertical threat in their mind. Okay? This is one vertical threat in their mind. Real quick side note, let me put this on a different layer. People would say, well, what if they do this and this? Right? That 3 verts. And our answer for that is, listen, our monster, our entire summer knows I run with wheel. He knows that. So that's wheel, whether the other route came from out here or in here, that is a wheel route by him. So our monster runs with wheel. He knows that. It has to be rep. Wheel's a great route. It has to be rep. We rep wheel all the time because wheel's tough to cover, right? So that's just a wheel. But for us, we treat tight end wing as one vertical threat. So now our hound, when we run hammer, which this is, has been freed from pass responsibility. If you do read pass, yes, react and bail like crazy and try to get underneath the drag. But if you don't get it, you'll never get an earful because we've given you the reins are off. Downhill, you've become a linebacker. They're playing with 2 vertical threats. I only need 2 vertical players. These guys are flat-footed reads for us, but in youth football, I would absolutely still have them doing 3 pedals. 3 pedals. 3 pedals. I don't care if they ran every play and they never threw the ball one time. 3 pedals. 3 pedals. I mean, we want to be smart. These guys are flat-footed reads in lion technique. It's just hop, 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 hop. We don't want to come downhill now. We have time to force this play because a couple things. If they run lead or anything, this edge is difficult to block because we're blitzing it. Mm-hmm. And now we'll come down later. It's not later, but it's hop, hop when you're reading these last guys on the line. They go down, hop, hop, straight downhill, constrict this play. Okay? We saw this zone 1, the mic. And this is why we have to rep this a lot. This is the only difference of our hammer technique than from our base technique. I need to get my black back. In our hammer technique, our mic treats everything as if there's no zone 1. Okay? Only in hammer. This is why we had to start repping it more. There's no such thing as zone 1 for you. So all things that used to be zone 1, such as a single guard pull, are now treated as zone 2. In a zone 2, your eyes, we take a read hop, and I got that from Glenbard, the Glenbards up in the Chicago suburbs, a read hop. I used to hate the idea of them being up in the air, but we take a little hop, and by the time your feet land, you should have your read. So you land and you go. So it's hop, go. And so we read hop, that's a zone 1 normally. Now it's a zone 2. Your eyes come off of your key and they go to the guy that's been assigned to block for you, right? And we tell our kids all the time, listen, you play Mike linebacker. There has never been a play call drawn where they don't have someone coming to block you. You play Mike. There is someone coming. So the fact that you ever got surprised by a blocker makes you, how smart could you be? Now listen, happens to our kids, but we try hard to, and I don't say that to a kid condescendingly, but we try to make it very clear. For you to get surprised by a block is on you, man. Listen, there's never, and that's again, so I'm just going to keep repeating myself, but we literally say those words. There's never been a play drawn where you're not getting blocked. So this is what we do. Read hop, take your eyes off of, you already know where it's going. That's zone 1 left. But for you in hammer, zone 2 left. You take your, and for us, zone 2 left is what we call B gap run through. You take your eyes off of this and you look to here, because this is where the blocker's coming from. So you look to here and you are coming with this low lean. If I come to this profile view, this is the angle, Z's in the knees, that we need. This is a guy running. Can you tell?
I was just going to say, pretty good.
Yeah. This back elbow needs to change. Let me fix that. I am an art teacher. Okay. That is a guy running downhill. Do you see that lean? This is the lean we need you running at, right? You are leaning forward. You are a shot out of a cannon, leaning forward. And now you're trying to put a shoulder through the outside shoulder of the guy coming to block you, and we're going to rip, right? So we're going to practice. Remember I said, this is where we know we're weakest and we know you want to attack. So we rep this every day. So we rep this downhill rip. And what we tell a kid is and again, that's why everything needs to be filmed, or as much as you can. I know that each program is limited what they can film. Do they have a camera? I would highly recommend filming anything and everything you can, because this is where we're reviewing, saying if this guy were to miss his block coming at you, you should have to catch yourself from falling forward. That's how certain we are of. If you don't have to catch yourself from falling forward, you'll likely get spoken to about the fact that you're not coming downhill hard enough. So those are the things, again, it's daily practice, it's daily repetition. The kids hear the same thing daily. I'm sure they're sick of hearing it, but that's the only chance, in my opinion, that you have to get them to change those habits. So my eyes go from my guards, read pop, zone 2, eyes there. And I'm downhill here. Where's the blocker? He's coming. Where is he? Rip through it. And once I've ripped through, now I can find the ball again. Okay. And so it takes a lot of work. And now our hound, who's right behind them. Sorry, looks like I accidentally zoomed in. Our hound is reading guards as well. And he is playing inside out on everything. So now he is downhill, inside out. Remember when we didn't have this tight end here, this dog could play backside A, right? Well, now we don't have that dog because he's out of the equation, because he has to go because of the presence of a tight end. So that's why we have to have the hound. He's now your backside A player. Okay. So if they were to run trap here, our Mike is gone. He's not defending trap. I have to take the reins off of it. He'll never get to power if I don't tell him, go now. So therefore, we allow him the freedom to go on trap, and he is downhill to make this play on trap. Now listen, this is the best football player on your team, and he's sitting there at about 6 yards, 7 yards. If it's youth football, I might put my Mike at, I still like him at 5 because he has to get over the top of my stack trying to raise heck, right? So I put him at 5, he's at 7, but he's downhill now. Like, he's not waiting to read. He's coming downhill now as he reads guards. So I have film of him. If anybody wants to reach out to me and see the film, making this play on trap. Again, if this was like my 8th best player, yeah, I have some concerns about it. But your best football player, yeah, he's dying to make that play, right? Like he's really anxious to get down there and make the play. And again, we've given him permission to make mistakes down here. Anything that's over your head, that's just not your concern. If you could help us on it, great. Yeah, you're a good football player. It's pass. If you can recover. But if not, you're not going to get chewed out for it. So that kind of gives you an idea of how we are defending these things. So if you do there's your power and ISO and lead, right? But if you do get counter, which, listen, if you're going to play a good team, you're going to have a great counter play. Counter's murderous. Here's my nose, my mic, my hound, and here's where we're just trying to wreak havoc.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just going to draw these guys vertical here. Doesn't matter if they're going in or out. If you go to run counter here, boom, boom, counter coming back, guard tackle, right? This down block is difficult. I've got my monster here playing line technique, hop, hop. He read down blocks, so he's prepared to come downhill, but he's going to wait until he sees the play coming his way. My Mike saw, for him, he saw zone 2 right. So he took his eyes. The second he landed, he saw guard this way. The second he landed, he took his eyes off of there and he looked here, and he is downhill here right now. My hound was coming downhill, and now he sees zone 2 right. For him, he's still allowed to play zone 1. He's playing A to B to C right here. Okay. And this monster is playing lion, which means he's hop, hop. He recognized plays going away. He'll slowly shuffle this way. So he's there for that. When that play does squeak through, he's kind of saving our butts. Okay. This guy's backwards. This guy's backwards. But that's how we're going to defend counter, which is why we run an interior every day. I'm going to switch modes on you here and go bird's eye view. And if you ever want me to shut up, please feel free to interject.
No, I'm just, I have some questions. I definitely want to take a little time and show you what I do too and get your feedback on it too.
So I'm switching to bird's eye view now. So we're bird's eye view. Well, I guess that was dumb of me because all football plays are drawn up bird's eye view. All right. So this is how we rep interior run every day, and we're going to rep it out of this. We only run at half line. So we got the full offensive line, and then we've got our backs. In fact, we usually don't even put a quarterback in there. We run half line, and we run it without a football every day, because these two are reading backs and these two are reading guards, and none of their first step is based on where the ball is. Right? So we rep like crazy without the ball because it's the only way, in our opinion, to get these kids out of the habit of chasing ball. We need them chasing. So when there is no ball, then they can't chase a ball. Like no longer you can ask a kid, where are you going? And he can be like, oh, well, the guy had the ball. Like, no, there's no football here. So read and react, yeah. Right? So now we're seeing this every day, and zone 1, zone 2, left or right, right? So this guy, again, don't choose, A to B to C, right? And then we're gonna yell hammer, run the same plays for at least a couple reps out of hammer, and now make sure that our mic went B gap run through zone 2, knowing that in hammer you can't play zone 1s because we lost our dog's help on that backside A, and we need you over the top, right? Our hound is taking that backside A. So that's kind of how we run it. That is so much information that I guess I would just like to reiterate, that takes us a month to teach, right? I just gave you all that information that takes a month to teach. So it's definitely not an overnight install. It's not a 1 week install. I don't think that if you're a normal 3-5-3 team, I don't recommend being like, oh, well, we happen to play a wing T team. Let me talk about this for the first time with these kids today. But that's been our answer. And I've seen people that don't run the 3-5 like us run very well off tackle. They're reading it, read and react, even playing DNs and 5 techniques. But you know what they are still doing every day? That's practicing against off tackle run every day, because they know, you got to know, even if you're not a 3-5 guy, where are the weaknesses in this defense? Those need to be practiced every day. Yeah,
good stuff. The one thing I got from this too, where a mistake I've been making for like 4 years after watching you. Can you make me a host just so I'll share my screen?
You bet.
Real quick. Just give me 1 second. Can I pull it up?
There you go.
Oh, cannot minimize. Okay, hold on. I'll find it. Let's see here. There we go. I'm going to share my screen in a second. Try to be quick so I could get you out of here.
Oh, don't worry about it, coach.
Share screen. Okay. All right, you see it?
Gotcha.
All right. I'll give you a real quick overview of how we do things. We run an uptown and downtown system. We call it. Downtown is basically pinch. Our DNs there, they have B gap. And we call our outside backers your monsters. We call them dogs. We call our R our right stack. Our Mike is our M. Our left stack is our Leo, we call it. So Leo, Mike, Rip, and then our two outside backers are dogs, corners, and safety. So downtown tells our DNs that they're basically slanting down. They have B gap. Uptown, they're basically just switching responsibility. And like you said, we're probably at least 80% as well downtown. That's just what we do. We throw uptown as a way to keep them honest and help out our downtown when we go back to it. Because he's not always just going to slant down. We do 3 downtowns and we do 1 uptown. That fourth time we do it, one of these kids are going to be free. On the youth football level, I learned that one of these kids are going to be free. But that's basically the kids get a call. We're either in downtown and uptown. And it's important, too, some of the youth coaches understand. And I'm going to be talking a lot to the youth coaches, not so much to you because they're just, explaining what I mean. The downtown and uptown aren't blitzes. That's just telling them what gap they're responsible for. So it's important to say that. But that's basically what we do there. And if we blitz, I've tailed back on my blitzing a lot, but let me get to the play. Did I draw it up here? Where is it? Should have been more ready for this. Oh, here it is. All right, this is our go-to how I like to stop power. The biggest, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. The biggest thing too, what I said I learned from you, what you said. Do I have it? Okay. If this was, let's say we'll go with uptown here. Now, like you said, when you pinch this kid, we're just going to change this from uptown to a downtown. When we blitzed downtown, we would say downtown is the base call, and then if I say rip, 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 it just tells the rip he's blitzing. That's all that means. My high school buddy, he uses numbers. He literally numbers them across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I tell him rip, it's a blitz. So they're going to hear downtown, and if you hear rip, he knows, okay, it's downtown, so I have C gap. But I hear rip, that means that's the trigger to tell me I'm blitzing my gap, which is C. But what I was doing is I was just having him kind of blitz C, and when this kid would down block, a lot of times we would just get washed down. What you have him do is really just play through this kid. And that's something, think about it now. This is horribly how I've been coaching this. That if they're running off tackle, we would just send them through C. And a lot of times, if this kid's good or times it, he would really just knock this kid off his path. We're kind of running around blocks rather than going through them, and that's how you get yourself washed. Or really and that's what we taken out of the play. So
and that's what we began to realize that so if you're truly running, right? And so you think about that stack, your rip. We want him hitting the line running.
Yeah.
When you run, if someone pushes you from the side and you're running, I mean, you can't stay up, right? You can't stay up. And so and again, we worked into this. It took us time to develop this and to realize that, okay, the presence of a tight end really honestly means 90% down block. So if that tight end is 90% likely to come at us, then we need to lean it. Again, that's why we start. So we started teaching it by leaning as we go. And then we finally just said, the heck with this. That is our priority. It is hit him as hard as you can, then go vertical.
And I mean, I wasn't telling my kids to really just run around the block. We would have our kid, we tell him to dip and rip. But a lot of times that's not really being physical. That's still trying to go around. Dip the near shoulder, reduce our blocking surface, and rip under it and come through. But, I think I have to put more emphasis, especially I'm talking to you, on being physical with this. We can't let this kid. And if we, stop this down block or stop this double team, it's really going to stop the play from where it wants to go. So that's something I got from you. I have to do a better job of. And again, I wasn't telling them to run away and then leave this.
Sure.
But at the same time, I didn't put enough emphasis on being physical with this kid. We try to dip and rip and then make a play, but we got to really just be physical, So that's something I have to get better at. But As far as defending off tackle, and I'm just, anything you got, any comments or anything, let me know. This is why I'm showing you.
Sure.
So when they go double tight ends, there's really not too much of a pass threat, to be honest with you. Like you said, I mean, they got two kids that could go vertical, could go out, or maybe they'll send him on a corner and then they'll send someone in a flat and kind of something like a power pass. But against double tight ends, I'm not too crazy concerned about the pass because our corners are really just watching them too, because we don't want them to get beat on play action. If it's play action pass, they're going to release. But we have two or three teams run power really well. A lot of youth football teams, they just base block or tell, hey, you block him, you block him. There's really no schematics or angles or double teams being used. They just hand the ball off left and you block wherever's in front of you. But when we played a really well-coached teams, the power, they'll get a double team here. For us, we were having problems we had him a little wider, but he wasn't really closing that gap. Like if he would down block, he wasn't really getting there in time. It was kind of almost like an easier kick out. And I don't know if that's something I'm not coaching right. But big problem we were having is against double tights, we had him a little bit further out. And, maybe it's my kids or I'm not coaching it right, but we would never get downhill to kind of really take on that kick out. So what we would do is, against double tight ends, we do this a lot. We have a downtown, tell our ends we're slanting down. We call it rip loop. Okay, so our rip is looping around. So instead of our dog being our contain, because look, pre-snap, power, this kid's going to see, okay, wow, look at this wide end. They'll think it's an end. It's an outside backer. But we'll see this, here's our force player. So he's going to want to kick him out. Pre-snap, they think it's a good, easy kick out. But if post-snap, and these are youth kids, if he slants through, he takes C. It's just basically gap exchange, scrape exchange, whatever you want to call it. And then he loops around. So that allows us to squeeze this down block and then kind of get this spill to our Mike, who's literally our best player, and then our Rip, who's looping outside. So that's how we really stop power. That's the best success I had, especially against these double wing teams that are really, if it's designed to go in here, we want to spill it, and if it's outside, we want to force it in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's basically how we stop power. We don't have a lot of blitzes. We don't have time to do a million different things. We get our downtown call or uptown, and if it was uptown, the only difference is he would come B, he'd slant. And then another thing I learned from you too that I wasn't teaching is I got to take this kid. Now, when R has a C, he's got to kind of hit into that. I'm not having our end, so I was having him dip and rip, but he's got to come down against this tight end. So that's something I'm going to change to. But if it was uptown, you go here, our R would come C, and then he would contain instead. But that's basically how we defend power. Squeeze the down block, really wrong arm it, and then just get it spilled. Mm-hmm. Especially against double tight end. It's my mouse dying. Oh, there we go. And then especially against double tight end, if he reads block, we do like our corners play a little aggressive, although we got to watch with that. But that's how we defend it.
Sure.
So, that's how we're doing it.
So,
any questions or thoughts, man?
Yeah. Well, so here's my thought of that. Here, you think I could share my screen?
Yeah,
I want to just draw something up.
Yep. Switch back. Stop share. All right.
So I just want to show you. Oh yeah. You got to make me host. I forgot. I just want to show you the reason why. Because there was a time where we did some of that, but I wanted to show you the reason why we stopped. Because what you drew up it's really good schematically. Schematically, it makes sense. It's a true answer. But there's a very specific reason why we stopped doing that. I guess it comes down to two things.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to show you, because from what you were doing is a little bit different how I defend it. So I definitely wanted to see why you do it.
So when you draw, and these are one of those things where I think it's important just that, you just develop your own philosophy over time, and you got to ride or die with your philosophy, right? Even with, I guess I'm saying within a year. I do think within a season, try not to change your philosophy within a season, change it in the off season. But when you draw up what you just did, it's awesome. The problem is a team that is truly a power team has been so well coached that you cannot spill their power, right? Most people say, we want to spill the power. You can't spill it. They're too good at it. You can't spill it. At least you won't spill it consistently. Okay. So what we started doing was we started saying, listen, what does this kid want to do on power? He's going to take he's been told, kick out the first man out of the side of the line of scrimmage. Okay. Which means we are okay coming out here and letting your guy just chase him way up. Just take him out of there.
That makes sense.
Okay. And listen, in theory, as this guy's coming down this way, we could, if you took these two players out of the play and he was just given space out here to run, our guys are in theory coming at such an angle that they should be able to run this down inside out and chase him down, whether this was ever forced. But listen, we're still going to force it, but we're okay with forcing it later. Okay. So that's what we started to do. We started inviting it because trying to spill it, honestly, a team that was very, very good at it, we couldn't get it spilled. They're too good. Again, for us, it was a team called Danville. And Danville was just so good that we could not spill the block. They were too good. And we're like, we need another answer. We can't get it spilled. So for some reason, I got such little memory that I have to like delete a file to be able to draw. So the second thing is this, and they're still full. So let me, I'm going to erase all these and then draw with you. Okay. All right. So this is the second thing that we realized, and that was that, and this is the main reason we stopped doing what you're talking about, was this right here. When we get, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Coach. I really want to show you this too. So give me 1 second. I really want to show you this. I think it's important. That ought to do it.
And honestly, if I think I just do a better job of teaching my stack backers when they're coming C to really engage in that tight end rather than try to dip and rip under them, I might not even need that. So
that help. It really does help a lot. But
that's probably the major issue.
Let me show you the main reason why we stopped. I'm really excited to share this because for us it was a big deal, and maybe coaches may not think this is a big deal. Maybe this is not a big deal for you, but for us, it really fit into what one of our priorities was. And I'm going to show you that. So what we started to realize, we actually stopped. We do a tackling circuit. We teach the kids how to tackle, but on a daily basis, we don't do tackling. We do leverage. Now there is tackling fitting up to a tackle within a leverage circuit, but we turned into leverage freaks. So that the language that our kids were hearing almost all the time was, are you an inside shoulder player or are you an outside shoulder player? Okay. And we want kids to understand, as this ball is going this way, right now, this player is right here. We need you to understand, do you fit inside of this ball to the inside hip right here? Or do you fit to the outside hip? Because is the second the play starts going outside, it is a human's natural reaction to begin to chase this outside hip. Mm-hmm. Because all of us see this as us playing one-man defense. But what we have to get the kids to understand is that you don't play one-man defense, you play 11-man defense, which means your job isn't necessarily to stop this man at all costs. Your job is to stop him if he does this, okay? So you are an inside hip player. All 6 of these guys, my hound included, all these guys, 7 are inside hip players. So we go drill after drill after drill after drill, playing things downhill, staying half a man behind things, being an inside hip player, and that takes relentless effort. I don't even think you can really teach a kid in a year. That's why it has to be consistent language with this kid year after year after year. And our hope is that by the time they're varsity football players, we've got inside hip players that understand their inside hip players. Because when you watch football on TV, 9 out of 10 big plays are because what you ended up with was 2 force players. Yep. And we ask our kids, guys, how many guys did it take to force a ball? And they should all shout out, 1. This is our force guy. He's the only man on our team that's taught to chase the outside hip. The only man. You're an outside hip player. Stay outside of it no matter what. The rest of these guys are relentless inside hit players. So what happens is when you draw up a blitz like what you draw, and this is the main reason we stopped running it, is that the reality is this guy isn't an M, and this guy isn't a D, and this guy isn't an E. This is a kid named Johnny, and this is a kid named Doug, and this is a kid named Michael who picks his nose sometimes, and he's just a kid. He's just a person that has other thoughts. And I'm spending all this time teaching Doug how to be an inside hit player. And it's easy for me to take a pen and paper and draw this up, do this, and you just come outside. Well, the main thing I just did is I just took a guy I've been working a year with to try to be an outside hit player, and I made him an inside hit player. And I just took a kid that took me a year to teach how to be an inside hit player because it's a habit, it has to be formed, and I made him an outside hit player.
Yeah.
And that kind of became the golden rule for ourselves we wouldn't allow ourselves to break. Again, just reiterating, you're not wrong by doing it because schematically it's great. But for us, a higher priority for us was the leverage. We wanted to stop making leverage mistakes. And so that's why we stopped doing that.
On the youth football level, all the big plays, like you said, you have 2 force players, but that's a big problem. Or you don't have a force at all, or the run cuts back. So many times you'll see any big plays we get too. They may stop us at the point of attack. We're a big jet sweep team. Do some rocket stuff because you said rocket's better than jet. Which with the older kids, it is. I'm at first I was like, I don't know. I have so much good success with jet, but rocket, man, I'm gonna sound like you. It was from you. That horizontal stretch and how it forced them to really widen, or they'll get beat, kill them. Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother, that's a whole nother video. Yeah, and you only got to block 2 or 3 players really to get big yardage. So if I stink inside, I'm having my 2 guys at my wings are my best players. My split end's good, and I only got to block 2 or 3 players, so they're best on my best. So really, the inside lineman, if we're not very good, which every year sometimes we're good, sometimes we're not. So that play is amazing. But it's just. Give me 1 second. I may ask you to share my screen.
Yeah, let me put you back.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Never mind. But a lot of times you'll see our big plays offensively. The kids always cut back because they see sweep. They just go. Yeah. And we just go, okay. They stop us at the point of attack. We're going to cut back. So
and that's at every level of football. Every level of football. That's our biggest problem.
Hard. And a good drill is a pursuit drill. I'm sure you know, but that's what we do. And again, I'm talking to some youth coaches too. So, but the pursuit drill is something that really helped. We do it every day. Just pursuit pass. And like you said, we say our force is outside hip. We use hip rather than shoulder, but that's just how we talk. But biggest thing our linebackers and our safety is, and you talk a lot about this on your videos. And then I watched it, and I assume my kids do it all the time. The Mike's path or safety, your hound's path. Sometimes we'll not inside to out. And then we'll go so hard to try to, it's sweep, let's cut it off. And then whoop, cross our face, and 60 yards later, I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah. So that's a huge thing on the youth football level. It's like you said, leverage. So, and I agree, I'm not teaching my dog to really, it's only really against single wing, sometimes do against single wing, double wing teams that really, because we just can't, even if we were physical with our rip on that, with our rip out into the tight end, I still feel like they just have numbers. And so I kind of felt almost obligated to have to do that. But I get what you're saying, that we don't teach that kids to do it. That's why sometimes it works against them. Sometimes the kid just doesn't squeeze it enough. Like our dog, when we bring him up, he just kind of gets useless or doesn't really squeeze it. And then they spill it and got all these blockers anyway. So, we get mixed results with it, but we play a really, really good double wing team every year. Whole program, no matter what. I bump around by age because I don't have a kid, so I'm at the mercy of guys who want to coach their kids. So I kind of go wherever it's open. But we played one program in our town, Heightstown, New Jersey. They run double wing from their high school all the way down. So if I'm coaching 9-year-olds, they're running double wing. 13, they're running double wing. So that's why we were forced to have something, and that team literally gutted us for so long, and that was the only blitz that our loop that was really slowing it down. But I agree with you. We're teaching our kid to be force and contain. And then another thing too, if we bring our dog in and have him squeeze, if they run play action, I lose my flat player. We can't get underneath if they say they spread out a receiver, to take the corner out. I have no flat player.
Right. That's tough.
That's another thing too. And flats on the youth football level, They go vertical, straight down the field, or they run. They'll clear out the corner, hit someone in a flat out play action. And you got
Sure.
2nd and 1, 3rd and 2. I'm calling my loop. I have no flat player. If that wing sneaks out, it's basically my corner's in his 3rd. I'm in trouble.
Sure.
So that's why I have to be careful with that too, because I could literally just blitz them out of play.
Yeah.
So
It's tough.
No, so it makes I'm leaning more towards what you're saying too now. It's good when it's right, when I make the right call or I have a good kid doing it.
Sure.
It's vulnerable against the pass too. We got beat real bad on the pass. It was like 2nd and 1. The team they didn't even send the tight end. They just send the wing like on a 5-yard out, and the tight end didn't release. We did a good job. But, our corner's so far off, he's playing in his 3rd, that they would just hit it for 5 yards every time because I'm sending my outside leverage player in, and then my rip, who's supposed to, we're switching responsibilities and running pass. So we're calling our downtown loop with our rip and our dog comes squeezing and him going. If it reads pass, he has to peel and he takes flat. But they don't, it's kids. And if it's 2nd and 2, they're going to bite.
Yeah.
So in that team throwing play actions at us on rundown and distances, forcing me not to do what I know has been helping us stop power. So that's another reason why, that may not be such a good idea. It's dangerous. Blitzing, losing my flat and my contain player. So
yeah, no matter what you do, you're giving something up. So you just got to make a good decision and try to go with it.
It's tough to stop people, man. Sometimes it really is tough to stop them, especially if they're well coached.
People are good at moving the ball. It just is what it is, and people keep getting better at it. So play a defensive is the hardest side. It's the hardest thing to coach. It's just hard because you never truly are a winner unless you shut them out. And think about how rare shutting people out is. So it's something you're always working on, and it's hard to do. But yeah, that's what also makes it fun. It's all kind of
defense is awesome.
Better.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how we're doing it. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I do have a few questions for you. I can't get you on here without asking a couple random questions.
Sure.
Then I'll let you get out of here. I know we all got stuff to do. But can you make me host?
Yeah, I think
I
I
am
did.
host. I'm sorry. Okay, here we go. Just real quick, in case I want to share my screen. One sec. Now, with your corners, you play cover 3. That's what you do. That's what we do too. We were kind of multiple in our coverages, and you and my high school coach said you got to stop with these. Playing man's good on paper, but you got to teach it. We were playing cover 3 and man's great for 4 verticals, but if we're not teaching kids how to play man, whether it's press or we're playing, it's a lot to teach. So a lot of times we just stay in our cover 3 or we'll call cover 4, where we take one of our dogs and move him back, and we literally just play 4 deep. Cover the wide side flat, wide side hook the curl. A little weak on the short side of the field, but that's our answer kind of for 4 verts when we know they got to pass. But in our cover 3, particularly when teams go doubles, they go 2x2. Our corner, we have him at 7 yards. He's splitting the difference between 1 and 2. Now, we were kind of playing like a bail technique, which was good because it puts emphasis on not getting beat deep and eliminates the kids kind of having to backpedal and then get out of their backpedal. Because a lot of times when we were doing that, they were running past us. But the bail technique was tough too, because sometimes we would lose track of the ball from it. Like if they break outside, even though that's a harder throw. So if they could complete that, then so be it. Because we're going to play heavier on inside receiver. But do you teach your kids you guys backpedal 3 times, particularly against 2x2 or 3x1 even? Because we've been having mixed results with kind of having our kids already turned and bailing back. So I'm not sure what you teach your corners.
Yeah, we do backpedal. And the program now I just switched schools, and when I came over here, last year was my first year here, so I'm not currently the defensive coordinator. And where I am right now, we bail, we shuffle.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Yeah.
In the 3-5 that I've run for several years, and what I've shown you, what I prefer is to backpedal. We call it a read to speed, 3 slow reads. But I think that you can get the same thing done in both. You really can. But we're going to take 3 slow read pedals backwards. And if we read pass, now we're speed pedaling and we'll open. If we read run, we'll plant and come up. But we're always going to take 3 slow reads initially. And for me, especially if I was coaching youth football, we're going to put our corners at 10. We want to tempt you to do what we want you to do. And we would much rather see a game full of hitches than a game full
Oh yeah,
of
absolutely.
verticals.
It's
So we
very hard
prefer to
running
put
hitch on a youth football.
we're going to put
Almost
our kids at
impossible.
10. When we get a special kid, we'll put them at 7, right? And we get them sometimes. Hey, sweetie. We'll get a kid that's pretty special, great speed, and we'll let them come up to 7. But with our freshmen, they start off at 10. We're going to line them up deep, 3 slow read pedals. Again, I listened to one coach on our YouTube channel just the other day, Rashad Graham, and he was a 4-4 cover 3 guy. He's like, we fear speed. We're over it. We don't even want you to be able to touch them. That's how far over it we want you to be. And yeah, so we're going to bail like crazy. We want to, and if we are bailing like the way we teach it now, it's going to be shuffle, 2 shuffles, 2 good shovels, then open and run. All right. So you can get it done in both, but we definitely want to err on the side of 2 deep. And again, it's one of those things. You're going to pick your poison. Are you weaker against hitch? Yep. And that's a decision you got to make. Yeah. You just got to make the decision and do it. Yeah.
Although in our regional championship game in 2018, we had a team, they hitched us to death, and we haven't seen anyone even complete it. A lot of times it was off play action, so our dog could never get underneath it. A lot of times he's coming up, and then some of that was my fault too, because I had him too close to the line. And we knew they liked hitch, and I still had him too close to the line. But, I mean, whatever. We won the game. We won the game. But, hitch, we're very vulnerable against hitch, cover 3. But in the youth football level, besides the one team I was telling you about, they hitched us to death. Then they hitched and then ran like a hook and ladder and got it on us. But
that's nice.
Other than that, hitch, we get a lot of now screens where they see our corner so far off, receiver just turns and just quick screen out to them. But, we would like to rally to that. But, hitch, we're not one game we had problem with hitch, and we adjusted a little bit, made sure our dogs were made it a tougher throw getting underneath one on the hitch. So, I took care of that. But yeah, we're not worried about hitch. We really just don't want to get beat deep. So that's why I had him shuffle. And then another thing too, as a guy that had your corners backpedal, we had it originally, but I feel like when they're backpedaled, they kind of get locked into like one guy. Like even though I have them split the difference, they're kind of either watching 2 or they're watching 1. And I'm talking doubles here. They get caught up in one guy rather than understanding that when you play zone coverage, obviously you got to play with depth. If you got 2 guys running deep, you got to keep it 1. But every receiver is a threat to your zone. So that's why I think turned in was better because they could see, anyone coming from anywhere. So that's why we kind of like the bail, and that's why we got away from the back pedal because I feel like they were playing man even though we're in zone there, losing track. Even if they go 3 by 1 and he's backpedaling, he's eyeing 1 and 2, and then 3 just goes, something like that. Or they run smash. One will run a smash, and then the inside guy will hit on the corner. We got beat on that a couple times.
Sure.
When I first started running it. But that's why I like the bail technique. So I just wanted your thoughts on that. And then just 2 more, and I promise I'll let you get out of here.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, when you run pinch with your defensive ends, okay, what technique? We were teaching when we run our downtown, which is your pinch, we tell our kids to dip and rip. Some problems we were having was, when you say it, it makes sense, but like a lot of times our kids would get washed down, or they would dip and kind of not being physical. They're going around the blocker versus kind of going through them. So what technique do you teach when you tell them? I know you have them penetrate, but what technique do you teach when you have your DNs pinch?
So if these are my DN's feet, right? And the ball's, let's say the ball's in here. These are his feet. He's going to pinch. Okay. We're going to make sure, of course, that we're repping this first step, right? Make sure our first step is inside. Okay. Inside step. And now dip and rip. We teach bicep to ear. And we really want to get that bicep to your ear. And now you need to lean, right? So, of course, we're going to draw it out on the field. We're going to draw it on a board, right? You're trying to get vertical. And this man is trying to push you in. Therefore, in order to create this stalemate, you really need to be aiming this way in order to end up going this way. And that's what we try to, it's just language and learning and the repetition where we'll have a guy with a heavy bag, they'll dip, rip, and we'll lean on them, right? And we try to get them understand, we want you to go this way. If you try to go this way with pressure on you, you'll go this way. If you need to go this way, then you're going to have to you're basically trying to do this, knowing that what you're going to end up with is this, right? And so it's just repetition and repetition to try to continue to teach that. And as you get a kid, and listen, being strong is the biggest factor in being able to really get it done.
Yeah, we're very undersized, so that's why we like to slant a lot, because we just can't,
Yeah.
launch, or we can't really just anchor a lot. I don't know what it is in my town. We play good football here.
Yeah.
Kind of got abundance of skilled kids, but not so much big kids, big strong. We're very, very undersized, which is why the wing T was good for us. And that's why we go 3-5 for slanting. But so many times my kids would slant themselves out of the play. So a lot of it is, like you said, leaning on them more. And when I'm sending
it's just
them,
changing your posture. And it's just that daily language. Yeah. It's something that we still struggle with. We still get washed, right? And so, but we're coaching it hard, right? We're trying hard to, if you want this, your aiming point needs to be this, right? And that's just, that little language piece can make a little bit of a difference right from the get-go, because they think this, they're trying to get there and they keep getting leaned on. And so we just got to teach them it's possible, but you're going to have to lean over here.
All right, yeah, cool. Last question, and then I'll let you get out of here. We see a lot of double teams, especially, like I said, we play a lot of I formation and double wing teams. One double wing teams, they double team us sometimes, and then they just block angles, down kick. But a lot of times this last year, they were always angle blocking, like down kick, and then wrap the backside guard for our Mike. But this year they had a tag where they were doubling our ends, because the slanting was kind of messing with their, slanting in and out. They had problems, so they just doubled us, and and this is probably my fault. We didn't practice enough on how to split double team. I guess, how do you have your D lineman take on double teams? We were telling them to split it, but I'm just not. It's whatever I'm doing is not working. So I need answers there.
Well, I mean, we've had times where we've just gotten whipped. I mean, we played a D1 lineman who was at tackle, and we tried everything, man, and he kicked our butts. I mean, and so sometimes you do just get whipped. But what we teach is dip, rip, and drive. If you can get by the block, and this goes for whether there's one man trying to block you or two, it's irrelevant. If you can get by the block, you keep driving. If you can't, you sit and spin out. So we drop our hips and we throw our back elbow, and we practice this. Drop our hips, throw your back elbow, and spin out. So we want to be like the way it was taught to me. We want to be stinking ballerinas, man. We are spinning around all over the place. Again, we are allowing those DNs to play this just stupid football. Your job is to be physical and go that way. And if you got to spin out and go, then spin out and go. I mean, trying to block, if you've ever played it, trying to block a man who's spinning is so difficult. So difficult. Now, the reason
flat on their face trying to block.
Yeah, absolutely. If the reason people don't spin more, though, is because it makes you very susceptible to trap. But we've already said we're okay getting trapped there. We're playing trap from behind that with our nose, Mike, and hound, and the backside dog. So if we're okay with getting trapped, then we're free to spin, right? So if you can get by it, we want you to get by it. If you can't, you sit and spin. That goes for single team, double team. And if when you get stuck, then you need to go down to a knee, right? So it's penetrate, it's spin, it's take a knee. That's the progression. And are we perfect at it? Absolutely not. We make mistakes, but that's how it's being coached.
Yeah, I mean, we don't see a lot of double teams, but like I said, the one team, how our league is broken up, we always catch them in like the semifinals. It's almost not a guarantee. We're not, I'm not good every year. No, I guess last season was rough. We weren't very good. But like usually we're known as a competitive program, and we always see them, so that's why they give us the most problems. I mean, we play double wing teams, but this team is like on a whole new level. Even when they're not blessed with a huge amount of athletes, it's just a good concept. Down kick,
mm-hmm.
And then they'll change it to double teams. But yeah, and I just want to end with just talk to some of our youth football coaches too. Why I run the 3-5 is because we could easily adjust to, because I've been getting a lot of questions too before this about like, why you run it? Can't stop talking about why do you run it? You got to find 5 linebackers. I could barely find 2, which makes sense. But I'm usually sending someone on a rip or a Leo usually, so it's really not 3. It's really 4 linemen come in, I guess you could say. But like, why do I run it? I run it because another thing too. We see a lot of spread, talking a lot about double tight end, double wing and stuff. But we see some teams that spread the field. Doesn't mean they're going to pass. A lot of youth football coaches think, oh, spread. Oh, you can't throw the ball over the field. Can't aerate. You could spread the field to run too. You could lighten up the box and run it. So especially you got a mobile quarterback, Q ISO, Q trap, and bubble screens, now screens. You could spread the field to kind of run. So I like the 3-5 because we could easily adjust to all these formations. We could very easily adjust to twins, 3-by-1. Any kind of spread look, we could easily adjust to. Whereas if you're in a 4-4 or even like a 5-3 or 6-2, like a lot of youth football teams, you're going to move the safety down and you're pretty much playing like zero coverage. You're going to bump out your it's harder to adjust, I feel like, out of the 5, 6, 7, even we play gap 8 teams where they literally have everyone in a gap. I don't know what it's technically called, but they literally just put everyone in a gap. We call it gap 8, but and they just send everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But 3-5 easily adjusts all the formations, and then it also allows us to be multiple. Even though downtown and uptown's simple for our kids, it's multiple. It's keeping them guessing. There's different things we could do with our blitzes too. And then also, it gives us an identity too, a point of difference. Like we are a 3-5 stack. Not a lot of teams in my area could say that. So I feel like our buy into it and our kind of attack, we have an attack mentality. We call it swarm mentality, but we don't blitz a ton. But I just think it gives us an identity. And a point of difference. And then the last thing, I think we get better pursuit out of it. We talk a lot about, I like having levels to my defense, 3 distinct levels, whereas so many youth coaches just load the line of scrimmage. And I don't think you see that much on the high school level, but when you put 6 players across the line, if you break past that first line, there is nothing. Yeah, there is no pursuit angles. There's no cutback. There is nothing. If I run rocket right, you got all your guys on the line. Everyone past that play side tackle and down is pretty much useless. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you have them at distinct linebacker level and secondary level, you get better pursuit. You get better inside to out pursuit. You get better force. You get better leverage. So that's why I really gravitated towards a 3-5. So that's my thoughts on that. So I'll let you get out of here. These things I always drag these on. But,
no, it's fine. It's fine.
The time.
I had a blast, man. I will add one thing when you said why run it. I've taken the I like to argue against the reason that some coaches use, which is I don't have those kids. I think that's not a great reason to run any offense or defense because in theory, as a high school coach, as a youth coach, your kids change every year. So unless you're willing to do a different defense every year, and you can't base it on the kids. I had a kid once upon a time. He's like, he was dying to play D end. And I'm like, I need you here at this linebacker. And then finally, literally he was putting up such a fuss about it. I said, fine, you play D end. You play D end. Next day he came back. He said, we line up our D end right here. He stands right here behind this guy. Well, that's a linebacker. I said, who says who? He's a D end. He stands here, right? And so it's like, what difference does it make? We're not the Bears. We don't get to go draft who we want. You just have who you have. We're going to line up here. And next year they're going to change. So unless I want to start basing and changing offenses every year and defenses every year, which I don't see how you can get good at anything as a coach and know the weaknesses of and troubleshoot things by changing, unless you're willing to change every year, then I just don't think you should ever make a decision based on who you have because who you have is going to change. It's just going to change. So just get good at something. Pick it. Doesn't have to be 3-5. Could be 4-2. Whatever it is. Pick it. Get really good at it. Because who you have, that's going to change every year. I mean, I've had DNs that are this big and DNs that are this big. It just changes. Each year you take the best and you make it fit the best.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to, we were a 5-3 before this, which is somewhat similar, I guess you could say. We're just outside backers are off. A lot of people think we're running a 5-3 sometimes when our dogs are a little up. But it's just something about coaching. Like, you got to be able to coach it, too, and feel comfortable coaching it. Like, when I first switched, the first 2 years were kind of rough. It's only until now that I'm really starting to figure things out. And I've had the same guys with me for a while. So it's just we're able to coach it. I tell you right now, it doesn't matter what kind of talent we have. And some things we may adjust to the talent, but we're going to run a 3-5 just because I feel like we're decent at teaching it. So I think it's something you got to be comfortable with and teaching it like you say all the time, just be good at something. That's why we run the wing T. I mean, it doesn't matter. Oh, yeah, we're going to run the wing T. Not because, we'll adjust some things if we got some talent or whatever, but like, we're just coaching it for so long. And and then, we work on where we want to get better. And that's why I got you on. I have 3-4 areas I'm trying to get better at. So, but yeah, I appreciate the time. And you know what? I'm going to share my screen for a second here. Since you really share. All right. So you didn't really talk much about it. Gave you the opportunity to. Since you didn't, I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Oh, you see me?
Yep.
Oh, I think internet's crapping out a little bit here for some reason. But if you want to talk a little bit about it, but you're the founder of ChiefPiskin. You have an online clinic, which I'm a member of. But really, your YouTube channel is unreal. I mean, guys, youth coaches, he's a high school coach, but the content on here is unbelievable. I mean, these home clinics you're doing are amazing. I've watched pretty much every single video. So if you guys not following them or not subscribed, you need to get subscribed to them, because I mean these home clinics are unbelievable. You know what I mean? It's like a Glazer clinic right on your YouTube, and then your clinic content is really good as well. So guys, make sure you visit ChiefPiskin, and I'll definitely put all your social info in the description of the video. But yeah, I mean you got a lot of great stuff on 3-5, a lot of great stuff on the wing T, pretty much everything, single wing, everything for 8-man football, which a lot of teams are going to. So, make sure you visit ChiefPiskin, man. That's my go-to resource for a lot of things. Thanks, and Coach Mac are my kind of go-to to kind of learn the game. I kind of do things a little bit my way, because youth is different. It's a different beast. It's just different in a lot of ways, but it's also very similar. I'm just trying to, learn. But you guys are my go-tos. So, again, I appreciate you coming on, and maybe we'll try to get you on here again one of these days.
All right. Thanks for having me, Coach.
All right, Coach. Take care, man.